Snow drifted across downtown Portland like tiny crystals floating in slow motion. Christmas Eve always made the city glow. String lights draped across lampposts, warm windows shining gold, the big tree in Pioneer Courthouse Square towering above crowds of families and couples. But for Emma Harper, the night felt as cold as the wind brushing her cheeks. Everything was silent, as always. But today the silence felt heavier. She walked slowly through the square, her boots crunching in snow she could not hear. The world around her was full of movement, children laughing, friends greeting each other, carolers singing in warm scarves, but Emma saw it all as though from behind glass. Earlier that morning, she had woken up excited. Christmas was her favorite time of year, a time she craved warmth and connection. She had planned to spend the night with her boyfriend, Mark. He had promised her a special surprise, and she'd imagined twinkling lights, slow dancing, maybe even a small step toward commitment. Instead, at 10 in the morning, she received a text. "Hey, something came up. Can't make it tonight. We'll talk later." Talk later was Mark's way of saying not now, not soon, maybe never. She had stared at her phone for a long time, her throat tightening. She typed a reply, deleted it, typed again, deleted again. Nothing she could say would change the fact that once again, someone had chosen to leave. Someone had decided she was too much work, too complicated, too silent, too different. Now, hours later, she sat on a bench near the giant Christmas tree. Snowflakes landed on her coat sleeves, each one a tiny frozen star. Emma wrapped her arms around herself and bowed her head as tears welled. She hated crying in public. She hated feeling weak. But more than anything, she hated feeling invisible, even with tears running down her face on Christmas Eve. She wiped her cheeks quickly, but another tear slipped out. She let it fall. Across the square, a little girl tugged on her father's hand. "Daddy," she said softly. James Carter looked down at his daughter, Lily. Her big caramel brown eyes were fixed on something across the plaza. "That lady is crying," she whispered. James followed her gaze. A young woman sat alone on the bench, her shoulders hunched, her face turned away. Snowflakes stuck to her dark lashes. Even from a distance, it was clear she was trying to hide her tears. James felt a tug of concern. As a single father, kindness came naturally to him. He'd had to learn to soften his heart, not harden it, after his wife passed away 3 years earlier. He wasn't in the habit of approaching strangers, but Lily had a way of seeing people others overlooked. "Sweetheart," he murmured, "maybe she wants to be alone." Lily shook her head. "Nobody wants to be alone on Christmas." James exhaled. He couldn't argue with that. They walked together toward the bench, their boots leaving twin tracks in the snow. As they approached, Lily released her father's hand and stepped forward. "Hi," she said brightly. No reaction. She frowned and tapped her father. "Daddy." She didn't hear me. That's when James noticed the small charm clipped to the woman's purse. "I'm deaf. Please tap my shoulder gently if you need my attention." Understanding washed over him. He stepped closer and carefully touched the woman's shoulder. Emma startled, lifting her head quickly. Her eyes widened when she saw a man and a little girl standing in front of her. Her tears, still fresh, reflected the glow of the Christmas tree lights. She straightened, embarrassed, brushing her face with her glove. James offered a gentle smile. Then he raised his hands and signed. "Are you okay?" Emma froze. Someone was signing to her. Her heart fluttered with disbelief. Most strangers spoke slowly or waved awkwardly, assuming shouting might somehow help. But this man's signing was clear, smooth, practiced. She nodded weakly and signed back. "I'm okay. Just a hard day." James nodded with understanding. His daughter watched their hands move, fascinated. Emma saw her and gave a small smile. The little girl stepped closer and, using adorably imperfect signs, said, "My name, Lily." Emma's smile widened. She signed back, slow and gentle. "Hello, Lily." Lily beamed. James signed again to Emma. "We're going to get hot chocolate. Would you like to come with us?" Emma hesitated. Her first instinct, always, was to refuse kindness. Not because she didn't want it, but because she didn't want to burden anyone. She signed quietly. "That's very kind, but I don't want to intrude." Lily stepped forward, tugging Emma's sleeve. Then, Using the few signs she knew, she signed with determination. "Come with us." Emma blinked fast, her throat tightening. She nodded slowly. Inside the cafe, warm air and the smell of cinnamon greeted them. James signed as he ordered their drinks, switching seamlessly between ASL and English. Emma watched, amazed. He wasn't just someone who knew a little sign language. He was fluent. When they sat at the small wooden table, Emma finally asked the question she'd been wondering. "How did you learn sign language?" James smiled softly. "My wife's best friend was deaf. She taught us. And after my wife passed, I didn't want Lily to lose that connection." Lily sipped her cocoa enthusiastically, leaving a brown mustache on her upper lip. Emma laughed silently, wiping it off with a napkin. Lily giggled. For the first time that day, Emma felt warmth spreading in her chest. After they finished their drinks, they returned to the square. Snow fell thicker now, swirling in white ribbons under the lights. Lily danced and spun, her laughter silent to Emma but bright in her eyes. James and Emma walked side by side. He looked at her suddenly, signing. "Nobody should be alone on Christmas." Emma lowered her eyes, signing softly. "I'm used to it." He shook his head. "You don't have to be tonight." Emma froze, her breath catching. Then, James slowly extended his hand toward her. An invitation, a question, a doorway. Emma stared at it, heart pounding. She lifted her hand, and in that instant, a sudden loud voice somewhere in the square made the crowd jolt. People turned. Someone slipped on the snow. Lily's small figure stumbled, and her hand slipped from James's. "Lily!" James shouted. Emma's heart seized as she saw the little girl fall.